Have you ever looked at a security project in your organization and just thought, what does this have to do with our actual business? It's a huge, huge problem, right? So often security just feels like this technical thing that gets bolted on at the end, instead of being woven into the fabric of the company. Well, today we're going to decode something called SABSA. It's a framework designed to fix that exact problem by building security that's actually for the business.
Okay, to really get this, let's start with an analogy that'll make perfect sense. Imagine for a second you've hired an architect to build your company's amazing new headquarters. Before they even think about concrete or glass, before they sketch a single line, what is the absolute first thing they're going to ask you? They're going to ask you about the purpose, right? Why do you need this building? Who's going to be in it? How are they going to use the space? Where is it going? When is it going to be open? Now notice something really important here. None of those are technical questions. They're not asking about load-bearing walls or HVAC systems. They are all 100% business questions.
And that right there is the big light bulb moment. That's the huge shift in thinking that SABSA brings to the world of security. Building a strong security architecture shouldn't start with picking out the fanciest new firewall. It has to start with the very same foundational questions that an architect asks before laying the first brick.
So that leads us right into our first section. We're going to look at the core idea here, creating security that always starts by asking why.
Now take a look at this. This visual really captures the whole approach. The framework we're talking about, SABSA, it doesn't just throw a giant one-size-fits-all security blanket over your entire company. No way. Instead, it carefully takes the business apart, piece by piece, breaking that complex machine down into smaller, understandable parts so you can secure each one the right way. Okay, so what does SABSA actually stand for? It's the Sherwood Applied Business Security Architecture. But honestly, the only words you really need to remember on this slide are these: driven entirely by business requirements. That's the whole game. This isn't about security for the sake of security. It's a repeatable method to make sure every single security decision you make, from a high-level policy down to a piece of software, directly supports what the business is trying to achieve. Okay, so that sounds great in theory, but how does it actually do that? Well, that brings us to Section 2, the Architect's 6 questions. These are basically the DNA of the entire framework. Just like our architect, SABSA uses a consistent set of 6 incredibly simple, yet really powerful questions. You ask them over and over. What are we trying to protect? Why does it even need protecting? How are we going to do it? Who are the people involved? Where is all this stuff located? And when does it all happen?
The best way to think about this is that you're literally creating a blueprint for your security. And these 6 questions, they're your columns. They're the vertical structure that holds the whole thing up and makes sure you look at every problem from every important angle.
All right, so if those 6 questions are the columns on our blueprint, what about the rows? Well, that brings us to Section 3. We're about to take a journey through the layers, from the 30,000-foot view all the way down to the nuts and bolts.
See, SABSA defines 6 different horizontal layers. Think of them as different floors in a building, each with a different point of view. You start at the very top with the business view, which gives you the big picture context. Then you work your way down through the architect's view, the designer's view, the builder's view, all the way to the people who have to actually run and manage the thing day to day. It's a perfect top-down journey.
So let's start at the very top, in the executive suite. This is layer 1, the contextual layer. This is the big picture view, the C-suite perspective. Everything has to start here. Up here, at this super high level, we ask those same 6 questions, but the answers are all in the language of business. What are our crown jewels, our most important business assets? Why do we care about security? What are the actual business risks that keep our CEO up at night? How do we make money? It's all about understanding the business landscape before you even think about a single piece of technology.
Now, to really see how this works, let's skip down a couple of levels to layer 3, the logical layer. This is the designer's view. This is where those big business ideas start getting turned into a real plan.
And look, it's the same 6 questions all over again, but the answers are getting more specific, more technical. The what is now about specific business information. The why is about the justification for security policies. The how is about how all the different security services will work together. You see? The framework keeps everything consistent as you drill down deeper and deeper.
Okay, wait a minute. We've got 6 questions that form our columns. We've got 6 layers that form our rows. So, what happens when you put it all together? And that brings us to the main event. This is the aha moment.
This is what ties everything together. Welcome to Section 4, the blueprint, aka the SABSA matrix.
And here it is. This is the whole thing in one picture, the SABSA matrix. You've got your 6 questions, the what, why, how, who, where, and when, running across the top as your columns, and you've got your 6 layers, from the CEO's contextual view all the way down to the manager's operational view, running down the side as your rows.
Now, I know, at first glance, it kind of looks like a spreadsheet from a nightmare, but trust me, the logic here is absolutely brilliant. Every single box in this grid answers a very specific question from a very specific point of view. Let's make it real. Let's walk through an example.
Okay, let's go down towards the bottom. Find the physical layer row. This is the builder's view. Now slide your finger across to the how column. The box where they meet is security mechanisms. So if we're building a new mobile banking app, this is the box where we decide the how. This is where we say we need 2-factor authentication. It's the actual physical thing we're going to build.
But here's the magic. Why do we decide to do that? To find out, let's trace it all the way back to the top. Go up to the contextual layer, the big boss's view. Now find the why column. The answer in that box is the business risk model. For our app, the why is the business risk of fraud, of losing money, of customers losing trust in us. That high-level business fear is the direct reason we're implementing that specific technical control.
See how that works? The matrix creates this perfect, unbroken line you can trace from a big-picture business problem all the way down to a specific technical solution. It guarantees that security is being designed to serve the business, not the other way around. It's security with a purpose.
And that really just leaves us with one last question to think about. Look at your own organization's security. Is it built on a coherent blueprint, where every single piece has a clear purpose you can trace back to a business goal? Or is it more like a big pile of expensive security bricks, all stacked on top of each other, just hoping they somehow form a wall?